Peter Piper picked a barrel pepper, pickle pepper, pickled. Hi, I'm Mike Young Media, and this is the opener. Hey, I'm Mike Young, and I'm a concert videographer, and today I'm going to be giving you a crash course on how to become a concert videographer. Think of it as an entire semester's course smashed into one video. I'm going to be going step by step from getting your first gig to delivering the final product. I'll be sharing with you how I started getting into this business and tips I wish I had when I first started, and by the end, you'll know how to land gigs, prep for shows, choose the right gear, shoot in crazy concert conditions, edit your footage, and handle yourself like a pro. Sounds good? Let's get into it. Alright, when you're just starting out, this can be the hardest part. Nobody knows you yet, and let's be honest, nobody's gonna hire you if you got nothing to show. So let me tell you how I got my break. So 2018, I just finished going to school for documentary film, and I happened to have a Friday night off. I told my buddy, hey, let's go see this band. I have this Friday night off, never heard of the band. We were like, hey, let's go see some live music. Why not? While we were at that bar watching the band, he had the idea, like, hey, I still need a subject to do my documentary on. We're like, why don't you do it on this band? And we talked to the band after the show. They agreed to let us come shoot their next show. That was in Kalamazoo. And just like that, just approaching the band saying, hey, look, we're filmmakers, or we're aspiring filmmakers and photographers. Can we come to your next gig and shoot it? You know, absolutely free. We didn't charge them anything because we had nothing to show. You know, we're not going to be like, hey, yeah, it's going to be, you know, for $500, we'll come and shoot your show. Oh, you want to see our work? Yeah, we don't have any. I just graduated. He's still in school. Long story short, we started working with them for like the next year. And from that, it's like, hey, I met this band, I met this musician. And then the clients grew and grew and grew. All from just walking up to the band and saying, hey, can we shoot your next show? And the worst part is that the camera I started on was a Canon Rebel T2i. So the footage is horrible. Footage is shaky. Footage is out of focus for the most part. So we spent the next year traveling with them around the state, doing different gigs with them, working on this documentary for my buddy so he could graduate. But after that first gig, things snowballed. So how can you land your very first concert videography gig? So reach out to local bands, reach out to local venues, see if they have any need, offer the film their set, make a recap, whatever they're looking for free or cheap. Maybe you'll get lucky in order to build your portfolio to send out to other venues, publications, other bands. The key is to get your foot in the door. And then from there, it's all up to how hard you work, how good you are, and how much time you're going to dedicate into your craft. And then when you're at that first gig, network. Network with the band that you're with, the venue, security. There's an in-house photographer there. Network with them. Guess what? Musicians usually support each other, so there's probably going to be more musicians in the crowd. So network with them. Be sure to figure out who they are and network with them. Or in my case, what happened is they saw me up on stage working and they wanted the same kind of work done. So they approached me. And then from there, you can work out a package or maybe keep doing free work for a little bit to build a portfolio, which would be what I would suggest. One show does not make you a master at the craft. And then leverage what you have. If you're already into photography or have some cool live footage, even if it's just crowd shots or a jam session, share it. Post short clips on Instagram, TikTok, using those relevant hashtags. So posting what you've done on social media is going to get you seen, hopefully, if you use the right hashtags by other bands. I get a handful of emails every week from bands that are either local and they just discovered me and they want the same work, or they're touring to Michigan from out of town and they want somebody to capture their show while they're up here in Michigan for the first time or the second, whatever it might be. And remember, sometimes it doesn't hurt to ask. If there's a concert you want to shoot, email the band's manager or the venue and politely offer your service. You'd be surprised if you present yourself professionally and maybe show a small portfolio, even if it's just like one show or even other types of videos that you've shot, you might still get a media pass. People do appreciate initiative and passion. And remember, everyone starts somewhere. So don't be discouraged if you have to volunteer at first. The goal is to build a reel of 1 to 2 solid concert videos. And once you have that, landing the next gig will be much easier. And who knows, the band you helped out for free might hire you for paid tours down the line if they blow up. It's all about getting that experience and showcasing what you can do. Having the right gear is going to be super helpful for concert videography. So low light and fast action, it's going to challenge any camera that a beginner videographer is going to be able to afford. Like, let's just be honest about that. Concerts are dark. I use the Lumix S5 2X. It's a full frame with dual native ISO, which means it can handle high ISO with minimal noise. Compared to my old GH5, which was a micro four thirds sensor, I needed much faster lenses to keep up. So if you're shooting on a crop sensor or an older DSLR, you might need to go and spend a few bucks on a faster lens. You know, lowest f-stop, if you can get like a 1.8, that's going to help you a lot in some of these smaller, dingier venues and bars that, you know, more local bands end up playing at. Honestly, I suggest looking at Rokinon for fast lenses. They great professional glass, but there's no electronic components in it, and it's a harder plastic material. I've never had one break on me, but I'm also pretty careful with my gear. I don't just throw it around. So Rokinon is a great cheap option for lenses. I think I got a 35, goes down to a 1.4 f-stop, and it was maybe 300 bucks. But the thing is, the catch is everything's manual. Focus is manual, zoom is manual if it has it, the f-stop's all manual rings, so nothing is automatic or done on your camera. Handheld is the name of the game in crowded pits. You know, my Lumix has a great in-body stabilization, compensates up to 6.5 stops of shake. So this allows me to get smooth footage when I'm running around on stage or down in the pit. And if there's not a photo pit, when you're running around in a crowd, you can't be setting up a tripod. You're not going to get dynamic shots with a tripod. Gimbals get in the way. They're big and bulky a lot of times. So having the in-body stabilization, and another key movement for trying to get very smooth handheld is tucking it in, using your body as a stabilization, not against your chest, but holding your arms tucked in and doing the ninja walk on stage. The ninja walk is you're going to have your arms tucked in, holding the camera like this, and you're going to have your knees bent, and you're just going to kind of slowly walk. It's all about smooth movement when you're moving around the crowd or on stage or back of the house. So getting a lens and a camera that have good built-in stabilization is going to be key in some of these more chaotic venues. If you notice that I keep getting darker or lighter, it's because I use the window as a light. There's not a lot of room to set up a lot of lights in the studio. But yeah, so I use the sunlight as a light. Now for video quality and what you want to look for in a camera. You're going to want something that can at least shoot 1080 at 60 frames per second. I can't think of one camera in 2025 that's not already going to be 4K automatically. So my S5 2X can record up to 6K 10-bit video, and that's going to be great for reframing from horizontal to vertical, or great for punching in on a clip. But mostly I'm shooting at 4K 60 frames per second. This will give me the ability later down the line to slow it down in half, while also still being able to record audio. Now again, 60 frames per second, depending on the venue, it might be too dark to shoot in 60. I know a lot of videographers, they'll shoot in 120, 180. I do not. Because I like to have multi-purpose for my footage, and at least on my camera, if I'm shooting in those high frame rates, I don't get any audio. And you're also going to need a lot more light to be able to capture all that slow motion. But look, you don't need top of the line specs. I started 2018 on that Canon T2i. I was still able to land gigs do a documentary on it until I was able to upgrade to my Lumix GH5. So top of the line gear is less important than knowing how to use it. Now, autofocus and assist tools. Newer cameras have improved autofocus. The S5, for example, has phase detect autofocus, which means it can actually track faces and eyes reliably in a chaotic concert setting. The one downfall with autofocus is if you're on stage and there's the crowd behind it, it's going to try focusing on the faces in the crowd and not necessarily who you're pointing at, like the back of the singer or the guitar player or whatever you're trying to get. So it can get a little funky. I've had my camera focus in and out because it's going to this face and it's going to pick up this face in the back and then back. You get the point. It gets a little chaotic. So you need to know how to use your camera manually, especially in darker lights. A lot of people, a lot of faces. You can't always rely on that autofocus. And also be able to use tools like focus peaking, zebras, and live waveforms built into the camera. This is going to help you focus the exposure on the fly. And if your camera has these, learn to use them. If not, don't worry, you can still manage with practice and checking your shots. So your lens choice is going to be as important, if not even more important, than the body. As a recommendation, I always go for a 24-70 f-stop 2.8 or lower if you can. It's wide enough for full stage shots at 24 and tight enough for close-ups at 70. And another way to go, if you are shooting really dark venues, is go with a fast prime lens. So a prime lens is any lens that does not zoom in or out. So a nifty 50, which I started on, that's going to be a prime lens. The 35 I got from Rokinon, that's a prime lens. The lens I'm shooting on right now is actually the Canon 24-70. That is going to be a zoom lens. So if you can, grab a fast prime lens like a 50 1.8 or an 85 1.4 for those super low light moments or artistic shallow depth of field shots. Primes are limited though because you're stuck at whatever focal length that lens has. So you'll have to be moving your body way more, which could be an issue if it's a packed crowd. Now for audio gear, this really depends on your project. A lot of my artists that I work for, they're looking more for like really hype videos to sell FOMO, to recap the night. So gathering audio isn't as important, but I have done in the past where they've wanted an entire song filmed live. So I will usually coordinate with their tour manager or whoever's in charge of the band to coordinate with the sound guy to make sure that we record it. Usually just bring a thumb drive and they record it right on it, but double check that it's recording, because I've gotten many files back. The sound guy's like, yeah, it's recorded, yeah, it's good, and the file has completely nothing on it. So typically I just have a shotgun mic, a Rode shotgun mic on top of my camera to capture live audio, capture maybe the crowd cheering, maybe the crowd says something to me. And I also use it for like behind the scenes stuff, just to capture any talking points, any behind the scenes moments with fans, with the crowd. And sometimes, depending on where you are on the stage, the audio doesn't sound bad enough where you can't use it. And just quickly before we move on, having extra batteries is key. At least have two. And if you only have two, maybe bring a charger so you can have one charging back up. Really depends on how long the show is. Extra memory card is going to be helpful. I have a 1 terabyte card, so not really something I have to worry about now. If I ever fill that up, I have bigger problems on my hand. And most importantly, and I did not learn this quick enough, is having good ear protection. I have eargasm earplugs, and I wish I had them when I first started out because I already noticed that I do have some hearing damage. But being able to protect your hearing when you're getting blasted with bass, with loud noises, with crowd screaming for an hour or 2 hours every weekend, it's going to do its damage. So just being able to protect that hearing as much as you can is going to help you in the long run. Just believe me. So to wrap that up, you don't need the most professional gear. You just need to have good technique. You need to know how to use the gear you have. And then as you get more and more gigs, you can then invest into more and more gear. All right, so now you got the gig and your gear is ready. What are the next steps for preparing to do this show? Pre-production is going to be key for capturing the best moments. You can't just go in blindly like I do every time. So I might not be the best example for this, but having pre-production is going to help you out so much. And what I mean by that I don't do it is because I work with a lot of the same artists, so I know their set list, I know what's going to happen, I know what they expect. So when I'm working with a new band, I always ask them, is there a certain moment in the show that you're like, definitely need this recorded? Are there any songs that you would like recorded? Is there any specific moments you do not want me on stage or want me on stage? And just having clear communication between you and the artist on what they expect and what you can deliver is going to give you both better products. So a few days before the show, reach out to whoever hired you, band, manager, venue, whoever, and confirm the schedule. When is sound check? What time does the band go on stage? How long is this set? Will there be any special moments, pyrotechnics, guest performers, singer jumps into the crowd, etc.? If the band has a set list, ask for it. This is golden information. This is going to help you know when to capture what. With a set list, you can anticipate big songs or moments. And for example, if you know the last song ends with the singer holding a high note, you'll be ready to capture that climax for the perfect angle. And so another thing I like to do is I do like to arrive at load in. It's going to be a longer day for you, but this is going to help you get acquainted with the band, with the artist, with security, so they're not consistently checking, oh, you got the pass? Wait, do you have a pass? No, they're going to recognize that face from earlier and let you go through. They're going to know, hey, this guy is with the band. And then while they're loading in, if they don't want video of them loading in, you could be scouting the venue. You're like, okay, I want to get a shot up here on this balcony. I want to get a shot from this angle up on this little like step or whatever. Then you're going to be able to know where you're going to go quicker. You're not mid-show. You're not going to be, oh, man, let's see, where should I go? You're going to have that in your head. You're going to have it dialed down. You're going to know where you want to go before the show even starts. Preparing a shot list mentally it could help you out. I typically do not do a shot list, but I do know I'll be on stage for a song and I'll focus on video. Next song, I'll focus on photos for up on stage. Then I'll go into the photo pit and do the same thing. Video, photo, and then I'll go back to the stage. Video, photo, unless I know something specifically is coming up, like a really cool guitar solo. Then I'll position myself properly for that song and just switch over from video to photo to make sure I've captured both photo and video from that cool solo. And then usually during sound check, the lighting crew might also turn off the lights and do like a little test lighting setup of what it's going to look like. You can use this time to dial in your settings so you're not fumbling around during the show. So I'm usually, with my dual native ISO on my camera, I'm either trying to be at 640 ISO or I'll be at 4,000. I'm mostly at 4,000 with a lot of these venues, but knowing that I have dual native ISO, being at 4,000, I'm still going to get a clean image. And then you can also use this time to check, hey, am I able to do 60 frames per second? And is it too dark? Do I have to go to 24 frames per second? Having this time to prep your camera settings is going to give you at least another 30 seconds, and that's a quarter of a song. If you're doing an opener and they only have 25 minutes, that's only about 7 songs. So preparation prevents panic. The more you do ahead of time, the more you can stay calm and focused when the show starts. So live events have no do-overs. If you're running around looking for the next spot to take video out, or you're messing with your settings and you miss a key moment in a song, that's it. It's gone. You can't go back. But if you're prepped, you'll be ready to adapt and still get the shots that you need. And as the saying goes, prior planning prevents poor performance. Proper prior planning. I'm gonna have to read this. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance in concert videography. Peter Piper picked a barrel pepper, pickle pepper, pickled. So this is it. It's showtime. You're prepared. You have the right gear. You have your settings dialed in. You have a shot list in your head. You know what the artist wants, and you know what you want to give the artist. So concerts are unpredictable, and you only get one chance, as I mentioned before. So you need to stay on your toes. From the first chord, be alert. So I always hit record a few seconds before the moment that I need to film happens. That way I capture beginning to end, no missing. Look, it's better to have extra footage and not need it than not have enough footage and then actually need it when you're trying to deliver a product to the artist. So if you're comfortable, shoot in manual mode for full control. So do not shoot auto white balance. I made that mistake in the beginning, and what happens is blue light comes on, it adjusts for that. A red light comes on, now it's adjusting for that. So now you get really off-putting skin tones of the artist, and it's a lot harder to make the different clips actually look like they're from the same show, because they're just vividly different. And again, just being mindful of your settings, of your exposure. Sometimes bright white spotlights come on and it's overblown, so you got to be quick to change it, lower that ISO, even raise that f-stop is what I would do, and keep the ISO at whatever your native ISO is. Check your exposure with the lights. Use your camera's histogram, the zebras, to avoid clipping highlights when the stage lights are so bright suddenly. If manual everything is too overwhelming, you can use aperture priority and auto ISO, but be mindful that with auto ISO, it might go too high. You'll get really noisy, grainy footage. Unless you have like neat video, it might become unusable. So focusing can be tricky in low light. I'm loving my Lumix autofocus, but if you don't have something with good autofocus, don't be afraid to switch to manual focus for those challenging moments. Remember, focus peaking is there for a reason. Focus peaking is, depending on your camera settings, it's going to have blue highlights around the edge or green. Those are the most two common colors, and that's going to show you what is in focus and what is not. I think you can change it to like red, which I don't suggest if you're working with concerts. I like the bright neon green, but that's going to help you determine what is in focus, if your subject is in focus or not. And remember to capture a variety of angles. Make sure your video is interesting by getting multiple angles and shot types. Start with wide, go in tight, get on stage, get behind the drummer on the riser and look out into the crowd, get all their faces. When you're in the photo pit, get up nice and tight on that guitar, get all those fingers solo and turn around, get the crowd roaring, get behind the stage, get all the hands going up, show how big the crowd is. And if the crowd's not big, really get in there, ninja walk, shoot between shoulders, look for people recording on their phones, focus on the phone, and it's going to make the crowd look a lot bigger and more involved in the show. So usually I like to use the crowd as like a cutaway, so it's not band, you know, show some variety of the show. Back in the day when I first started, I would do like slow motion shots of the amps and the pedals. I don't really do that anymore. It's a little too artsy and not really what my goal is, but it worked for the band I was working with. They're more of the artsy type of musicians, so they loved it. If you look at one of my old videos on this channel, the Nina Simone Cinderman cover I have listed on the channel, it's like one of the very first ones. You'll see those first shots are like establishing shots of plants, of the stage, of amps. So you get the idea. Just have a variety of different shots to work with. Don't be annoying, but also be assertive. It's a balance. You have a job to do, but you also don't want to disrupt the show. You got to move quickly, but smoothly. If you need to get to the other side of the crowd or the other side of the stage and there's not a photo pit, don't just push your way through the crowd. Just walk around the crowd, but do it quickly enough that you get there on time. If you're on the stage and you need to get out to the other side, typically I don't just walk past, and if I am, I'm also filming at the same time if I'm walking through the stage. But what I would suggest is go down, go backstage, and then come up on the other side. Use the music's rhythm. Let the music guide your shooting. If your song is mellow and building up, that might be a good time for a steady wide shot or a slow pushing movement. If it's fast, high energy song, feel free to get more frantic shots. Quick pans to the drummer on big hits, handheld moments that dance with the music, but within reason. You know, you don't want unstable, shaky footage, but a little movement can convey energy. And that's a big reason I go handheld. That little bit of shake, that movement is going to convey the raw energy of a show. Whereas, you know, using a gimbal, besides my other hatred for gimbals, it's going to look too smooth. It's going to look too overproduced. And in my experience, people are turned off by that. So shooting a concert is a rush. You might feel overwhelmed at first, but trust me, as you get into the zone, it becomes second nature to juggle settings and frame it on the fly. Enjoy your experience. Your passion for this is going to show on the footage. And when this final song ends and you know you've captured a beautiful moment, that is one of the best feelings in the world. Now it's time to craft the story in post-production. Editing concert footage is where you bring all those shots to life. So here is a step-by-step of my editing workflow and some tips to make the final video shine. First thing I do, I put that footage onto my editing hard drive, and then I also put it on a storage hard drive. I have 3 copies because I'm not formatting the card until this show is done, video is uploaded, and the artist says, good job. And so now this next step is going to be based more on your editing software. But of course, I make a new library, make a new event in Final Cut Pro, and then I upload all that footage. And then, at least for me, the easiest way to edit is finding that perfect song, finding a song to edit with. So I'll find, you know, say I'm working with Kylie Morgan. I'm going to use one of her songs, obviously. Whereas if I'm working with Dirt Road to Nowhere or Corey Dakota, I might use, somebody else's song because they do a lot of cover music and they're mostly a cover band. So I have the opportunity to pick any song that I want within, reason, usually one that they perform often. So I always cut to the music, to the beat of the song. Is when I do clips. It feels natural when you're looking at it. I've seen some videos where it's offbeat and it seems not put together, randomly thrown in together, and it just doesn't feel right. Cutting to the beat is going to make it feel more immersive and energetic. Nothing is worse than a concert video where the cuts feel random or out of sync with the song. So selecting the best shots, having that pre-planned shot list in your head is going to help you determine where that best shot is. Sometimes a common thing that videographers do, and I think photographers do it as well, when you know you nailed a nice shot, the next clip, your hands over the lens. That way the thumbnail, when you're looking at it, is just going to be black, and all right, clip before this, I nailed something and I got to use it. And basically what I'm looking for in color correction is skin tones. I want the skin tones to look natural. So if it's a bright red light, I'm going to try to adjust in it where they don't look like Elmo, or if it's over purple, so they don't look like Grimace, and so on and so forth. I try to get that skin tone correct. The rest of it is fine. So you have all the clips, they're cut to the song, you color corrected. Now this is the time I add any effects, zoom in, zoom out, cool transitions. Maybe I'll do an overlay or two, throw in their logo, whatever they ask for. I have one client that wants more, and then I have another one that just wants hard cuts. So usually the effects, the transitions are going to be the last thing that I add, motion blur. Then right after that is when I do the neat video noise reduction. Typically throw it on every clip at this point, just to clean everything up. Very taxing on your system, but if you can do it, I highly recommend doing it. It's going to make everything look a lot better. Once you're happy, export in high quality. I know I've heard for Instagram, render at 30 frames per second at 1080, and that might work for a lot of people, but in my experience, whenever I do that, there's a clear difference between 1080 and 4K when I upload to Instagram. So this is something you're going to have to test out. For me, doing 24 frames per second project at 4K, and then rendering at ProRes 422, this has always given me the best quality uploads on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all of that. I know people are like, oh, that's not how you do it. It's supposed to be 1080. You got to figure out what works for you. And remember to upload on Wi-Fi, not cellular data. And then after I render it from Final Cut Pro, I'll upload it to a Google Drive, and then I'll send the link over to the artist for final approval. Usually they love it. Sometimes they might just say, hey, I don't like this clip. you know, that person makes a weird face in the background, or hey, I don't want people to know that this person was here at the show in the crowd. It always depends. You just got to make sure you get what the artist wants and go from there. So the technical skills are half the story. To be successful, you also have to be professional and reliable, especially at the beginning. Reputation is everything. If you're unprofessional or weird when you're starting out, that word's going to get around and you might not get another gig again. Here are some final tips on how to handle yourself professionally. Treat even your first small gig like it's Madison Square Garden. Show up on time, actually, you know, earlier, as we've discussed in the past. And if you're supposed to meet the tour manager at 5 p.m., be there at 4:50. This is going to build trust. After the show, deliver assets when you said you would. If you promised to do a video in 2 weeks, try to have it done in 1. Reliability will make people want to work with you again. Look, I've been on stage and I've been backstage with pretty big name artists, and the key is to not be a fan. You're there to work. You know, when I'm with Jelly Roll, it's not, oh my God, Jelly, I love you. No, it's like, hello, sir. Happy to be here. Let's get some work done. Is there anything you need from me before we start recording? You know, kind of like that. I've done an interview with them. And then communicate clearly before, during, and after the project. Keep communication open. Confirm details in writing. If something went wrong, let's say one camera angle didn't work, be honest, have a solution. Maybe you have enough footage from another angle to cover it. Clients appreciate honesty and professionalism in problem solving. You know, every time I'm in the pit with a band and I see the venue's in-house photographer, I always say hi before or after, or like just, you know, walking past, fist bump, be like, hey, we're in this together. Let me know if I'm in your way. I know you need to get your shots for your venue, for your job, and they know I need to get my shots. So just working in tandem with the other photographer or videographer in the area, it's going to get a good word out for you that, hey, you're easy to work with. If you're difficult or rude, nobody's going to want to keep working with you. And finally, professionalism also includes taking care of yourself. You know, touring and shooting concerts all the time, it's draining. It's late nights. It's a lot of fog and haze on stage that's drying out your throat. It's a lot of gas station food when you're going on tour, or a lot of bar food. Remember to stay hydrated, get rest, sleep when you can, and protect your hearing. Get those earplugs, make sure they stay in. Just remember, when you feel your best, you're going to perform your best. It's not only something for artists, but that goes for you too as part of the media team. Your reputation is your business card. I have never once paid for an ad or a commercial or promoted myself to get gigs. It's always been word of mouth, and that word of mouth is, this guy's a cool hang, this guy does good work, you should hire him. So congrats, you made it through this very long video if I didn't end up breaking it up into multiple parts. So we've covered a lot: the gig, the gear, the professionalism, the shot list, taking care of yourself. Hopefully this video gives you enough confidence and knowledge to go out and get your first concert videography gig. And if you like this video and if you found it helpful, hit like, hit subscribe, and again, leave a comment. Let me know what questions you might have, because I know it's a lot of information smashed into one video, and I'm sure I've missed a lot. I was just going through what I do step by step before I go to a show. Now grab your camera, go shoot some amazing shows, and more importantly, have fun, be respectful, be professional. Link your very first show down in the comments. I'll go and check them out.